Welcome back. My name is Patrick Nolan. This is Pat Talks Law. Today we're going to talk about planning your divorce. So I'm going to go into 9 tips that you need to pay attention to if you think you are headed towards divorce or you're planning for a divorce. Okay? Think of a divorce like you would a military operation. Okay? You got to have a battle plan. Set the field. First, gather your documents. Okay, this is critical. I don't know how many people come in, they don't have documents and they no longer have access to because they've moved out of the house. Before you get to that point, gather your documents. Make copies of the taxes for the past 3 years. Get copies of pay stubs, yours and your spouse's, for as far back as you can go. Bank statements. Make copies of bank statements. Make copies of the insurance, home insurance, vehicle insurance, health insurance. Make copies of all of it. Make copies of your mortgage documents, what you're paying, when you're paying, what the equity is, how much. Make copies of any business records if there are home businesses or your significant other is running a business or you're running a business. Make copies of all those records. It is critically important that you have copies of all of that. And make copies of all of your bills. If you have a bill coming in, make a copy of the bill, the billing statement, the credit card statement. You might not pay any attention to it because it's only a $200 bill, but in that billing line item, we might discover that your significant other has been dining out or paid for a hotel room you didn't know about. There might be something in there that needs to be looked at. Make copies of those bills. Now, when you're gathering those documents, if you wonder whether or not you should make a copy of it and for your records for an impending divorce, if you're wondering if you should, the answer is yes, you should. Okay? Make copies of everything. Car titles. Okay? Make copies of the car titles. Or take the car titles and leave a copy. Make copies of any bills of sale for anything. Make copies of any lease agreements. If you don't own your home, if you're leasing a home, make copies of that lease agreement. And make copies of everything. Now, after you make those copies, you have to secure them. You don't want to have a big stack of copies right there in the kitchen, causing your spouse to go, what are you doing with all that? No, secure them. Get them to a safe place. Put them at mom's house, a safety deposit box. Rent a storage unit. That's a big one. I tell people, rent storage units. Leave them at a friend's house if you have no other options. Okay, go through then and inventory all of the personal property. Take pictures of it. Okay, video record as you go through the house and record what condition something's in. If it has a serial number, record the serial number. Make notes of it. Go through. If your spouse is asking, you're doing it for insurance reasons. You want to document it in case there's a fire or something. That's fine. You heard about it on Facebook or something. But you want to take pictures. You want to inventory everything. Okay? All the personal property. You want to place values on the things you have in that inventory. Now, in Missouri, we call that a statement of marital assets and debts. You're listing off all the assets. Who possesses it, what the value is, and ultimately then who should get it when the court divides the property. Okay? So you want to place values on the things that you have in your inventory. Now, those need to be real values, not pie in the sky stuff, okay? You want the depreciated value, yard sale value, not replacement value, not, I consider it an antique. No, if it is an antique, value it accordingly. If it's just an old ratty chair, it's an old ratty chair, man. It might be worth a couple bucks. So have real values. And the problem with that is a case that I had. One party valued a collection of arrowheads at $100,000. The other party valued it at about $1,000. So, and I represented the person who valued it at $1,000. That client's response was, they're yours for $100,000. Write me the check. So, you could be stuck with that property for that dollar amount and have to pay your spouse for it. So have a real value. Don't This isn't where you play games. Courts see games, they know them, and they won't like you when you play them. So, a real value. Now, next, if there's something there you cannot afford to lose that you've identified, be that, your child's footprint, ink print that you have on the wall, the brass baby shoes, your high school yearbook, or the ticket stub from the Grateful Dead concert you went to, okay, move them somewhere safe. Get them out of the house, put them somewhere safe. Okay? Because those are things that tend to get lost and destroyed in a divorce when someone acts out. You're not concerning divorce because everything's hunky-dory. So, move that stuff somewhere safe. Now we're talking about moving some property. I'm going to tell you, do not start liquidating property. Don't sell his or her favorite stuff. Don't sell stuff and then hide the money. Okay? Don't divest the property. That will get you in trouble with the court every time. Now, you got to start protecting yourself and separating yourself. Go get a P.O. box. As long as his brother isn't working at the post office. If it is, go somewhere else. But get a P.O. box, change the address with accounts that you need to make sure get paid or at least are properly tracked. Okay? You want to open up a separate bank account. Go to a bank different from the one you and your spouse bank at and open up a separate account there. I don't know how many times I've seen somebody open an account at the same bank that they do all their banking in, and the spouse goes in to do something at the bank, and the bank lets them know that there's a separate account he didn't know about. Or lets them deposit or draw money from that account. That happens too. So go to a different bank. Send that statement to your P.O. box. And for the love of God, make sure your attorney knows both your home address and your mailing address, and that they don't cross those two. So and then start moving money into your account. Okay, you want to be able to access some funds during the process. War chest in that account is a good start to have. Okay, however, you are going to be accountable for those funds. You need to be ready to account for every single penny of that money that you move out of the marital accounts into a personal account. And change your direct deposit to the personal account. That's fine too. Next thing we need to talk about, and I think this is the fifth point, but it's information security. Okay? If your house has one computer, you're both using it, anybody's going to be able to access your information. Simple keystroke logger is a very simple script. It's very inexpensive. They're free. You can find them online. Your passwords are compromised. Don't use that computer for your passwords and to access things. It won't be good for you. You're going to need a new email address. Not simply changing the passwords. The minute you start changing the passwords, your spouse knows there's something going on. Okay? They're going to look at it and say, hey, you're changing the passwords of your email. What are you hiding? I'll tell you what the next question is going to be. Every time it's going to be, are you cheating on me? So don't go there. Get a new email address. Don't check it on a common computer. You do need to have a plan to change all of your passwords and all your account recovery information. And you want to implement that probably, as soon as you feel comfortable with the idea of your spouse knowing. Once you start changing passwords, they're going to start knowing that there's something going on. It's the same thing. Once you start redirecting mail to your P.O. box, they're going to know something's going on within a month when they don't see the bills coming in. So, we're starting to get closer to the actual filing. Your cell phone. I had a client in my office get called by her spouse who was tracking where her cell phone was. He knew she was at the lawyer's. Okay? Don't bring your cell phone if you think that could be going on. Don't bring your cell phone into your lawyer's office. Leave it at a friend's house when you come over to the lawyer. It is horrible that you have to go through those steps. And if you're in that kind of a situation where you're worried about it, for the love of God, get yourself out of it as soon as you can. Simply turning off your phone doesn't end GPS tracking. I've defended people who have gone to prison because I thought that was the case. It isn't. Please, if you're concerned about that kind of tracking, don't bring your phone. If you're not concerned, you probably should be. You may want to get a new phone, even we call them burner phones, but you might want to get an inexpensive temporary phone that you can use so you have a phone number and access. However, I promise you that if your spouse is suspicious and you're carrying a new phone around, they're going to ask you why. Something to think about. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. Once the actual split happens and they know, you need to be using a different phone. You need a phone that is not on the same plan as they are. You need a phone that they don't have access to. You need a phone probably on a different company. So if you had AT&T, get a phone with Sprint or Verizon. Now, the next step, this is also a step where people start paying attention. Close any unnecessary accounts and credit cards. Okay, cancel joint credit cards that aren't needed. Look, if you have a joint credit card with your spouse and it has a $10,000 limit and the two of you clean out the account, one of you is going to run that card up. Okay, so close it. If there isn't a balance on it, close it. If there isn't a balance on it and you can't afford to pay it off and close it. Next step is debit cards. Okay, you have joint accounts. Cancel the debit cards. You and your spouse should both be aware that you're doing this when you do it. Don't be a jerk. Don't cancel the debit card while your spouse is driving cross country, leaving them stuck on the side of the road with no way to buy fuel because you canceled the credit card too. Okay, don't do that. I promise you, if you do that, the court will make you pay for it. But you're going to want to start closing down and separating your finances. One is your own bank account. Changing your direct deposit at that bank account, that's important. Getting your bills where you can track them, that's important. And I'm talking a lot about finances, that's really the bulk of this. This, for preparation, is paperwork and finances. And with that, let's talk next about budget. Budget. You got a budget. Okay? Make yourself out a written budget. How are you going to afford to live? Okay? You're going to have to get your own place, or you're keeping the place you're at and you're going to try and get in and move out. That's fine. Talk to your attorney about that and how to make that happen. But you're going to have to be set up independently. If he moves out of the place you're at, she moves out of the place you're at, you're going to have to be able to make that payment yourself. How are you going to do that? If you move out, you're going to have to be able to make a payment for rent. Please don't buy a house while you're planning on a divorce. Don't do it. Your attorney will thank you. Don't do it. Move out, rent a place for 6 months. It won't kill you. But you're going to need to know how you can afford to live. Are you going to need maintenance and child support? Do you guys have kids? If so, you've got a plan for that. Okay? There are a lot of people, mostly women, stay in bad marriages because they don't see a way out with the kids. You plan for it, get that separate account, start moving money aside into that account so you've got a little bit of a cushion. That's going to help you. Okay? Even if you're planning like 3 years out, man, you start squirreling some money away. You can do that. Everybody can find $50 to $100 a month to set aside somewhere. Get yourself a little bit of a nest egg, then go do what you need to do. So you need to plan on that, or you're going to need maintenance support. How much will you need? Planning is important there because you're not just planning for the separation, you're planning for what you need to ask for in the case. And your attorney is going to ask you about this. Okay, child support in Missouri, we have a set formula for it that you can deviate from if that formula is unjust or inappropriate. But the formula is pretty much what goes. Look, you may have health insurance with your significant other, and they may say that they're going to maintain that health insurance after you guys divorce. It doesn't matter what they say. Your spouse is not going to leave you on their health insurance when divorce is done. It will not last long. It's certainly not going to last past their first date with somebody else. So you need to have a plan to get your own health insurance. COBRA is insanely expensive, but if you have health issues, you want to maintain that gap. Get COBRA for a month or two. Divorce is a qualifying event. You can still apply for ACA. I imagine with the change in administrations, that's not going to go anywhere now. So, you can get health insurance. In Missouri, there is a state insurance fallback. If you have no other recourse, you can apply for that. So you want to make sure that you have insurance. Kids and custody issues in divorce, you have to plan for them. That is a huge, huge topic. I'm not going to go into that right now because we'll be here for another 30 minutes. That'll be a separate video we'll do at some point. But all I will say on that is you have to have a plan for kids. If you're going to shut the other parent out, they better be a child molester or, have beaten the kids into submission or something. You have to have a reason if you want to keep them from having frequent, meaningful, and continuing contact with the child. So you have an obligation to make sure that the children have a relationship with the other spouse and children are coming with you. Okay? So make sure that you are facilitating communication. The last thing you want to be is in front of the judge explaining that you've denied your spouse visits with the kids, access with the kids for 4 months while this case was ongoing. The judge will punish you for it. They will do it every time. Now, unless there's a reason. If you've got a good reason, that person has abused the children, that person is an active methamphetamine user and manufacturer in the kitchen, the court's not gonna ding you. But chances are, if that's going on, there are other things involved. So again, you got to be reasonable with the kids. That's where we're going to leave that. There will be more videos on divorce issues because it seems to be one of the common questions that I'm getting lately. So please hit like, subscribe, and feel free to take a look back through some of the other videos. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I can't guarantee I will answer every one. I can't become your lawyer through YouTube, but I am happy to address generalized questions. If it gets specific, then you'll probably need to call the office. All right. Thank you. We'll be talking again soon.